So with all this out, we're meeting public is not supposed to be at. I did my choice for breath, let's stare at all of this. And made a joke about stairs.
It's on.
Anthony Bowler, Chairman. Please, Team Maria. Alan Perry. Here. Sarah McElwee.
Here.
Dan Reinhardt. Present. Daniel Kent.
Here.
On to approval minutes. We had a July 15, 2026 regular meeting minutes here. Got it. Read them. Promoted.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we'll also. On to item 4, new business. There's a special permit application. I'm sorry, I missed the. So item 2, audience citizens.
Can't hear you.
It's
There
on.
you go.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Audience of citizens. Citizens may address the commission on items that are not on the agenda. So there's quite a few of you here. If you have anything you'd like to talk about.
Yeah.
State your name.
Richard Kuzik, Hemlock Terrace. I've communicated with Zoe, and there are a couple of things that I've noticed is I was trying to find things on the website as far as zoning laws. You know, technology is changing, where everything's moving into the future. Some of our laws, zoning laws, and I'm not talking about the residential neighborhood, commercial area. I'm talking about things that in residential areas need to be addressed. Lighting, LED lighting. We do not, as a town, have a clear set of rules concerning that. I'd like to see something move forward with that. And other towns have it. That could be used as a base and could, you know, evolve that more to both this towns. But when somebody installs industrial commercial lighting on a second and attic area all the way up there, lights up the entire thing, it looks like you would expect planes to start coming in. Or a state penitentiary. That's what we call, hey, the penitentiary lights are on. It is unbelievable. Anybody interested in seeing pictures, be happy to show it to you because it is insane. And how do we enforce something with the understanding that our officer doesn't have any power to enforce that? But we don't even have that on the books that's clear. So how do we get something on the books?
So a couple ways, we're actually actively working on zoning regulations at the moment, but let's farther down in the list, there is, you know, there is zoning text amendments, we are working on that, so.
Okay.
The Gateway Commission has put standards forward, for us to look at, so that is something that we, for, no, not tonight, but it is on our, guys, but that.
Is that something that folks can get involved in as far as?
Yep, these are all public hearings, so if you keep an eye on them, you'll see, you know, like I said, there's a couple of them coming up.
And I'll add, because, and we did speak about this, so we have just one kind of small section in our regs that addresses lighting, but the way that it's kind of universally applicable is it could be better. So I asked him to come and just speak based on his experience to help inform us as we go through our regulation updates, especially given, you know, the Gateway submitted recommendations that are specific to the Gateway zone, you know, dark sky compliant lighting, etc. So it seemed like the right time to make sure that the commission was also aware just of a specific scenario in a residential context.
And I appreciate you get that quickly, and And I still pictures, the pictures, this way you guys can look at this and say, you wouldn't want to live where I live today. You just wouldn't. You can't go outside without looking, you can't even go to sleep. It lights up inside of my house.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I just wanted to hear from what Jim said. So I'm the Gateway Commissioner for Deep River.
Yeah.
And we have submitted there, we're studying a lot. Oh, I'm Jerry Roberts, I'm sorry, I'm Jerry Roberts, 35 Marywall Lane, and I'm Deep River's Commissioner for Gateway. And we've been spending more than a year drafting lighting regulations for the Gateway Zone for all the towns. We submitted them to Deep River. We obviously it would be a great tool if they wanted to spread them throughout the town, not just along the river, but it's something we're all thinking about.
Anybody else?
Who takes that?
Mike Joy, Wilson Brook Road. I see on the agenda you have 145 Kelsey Hill. Curious, I'm looking forward to the discussion. What's going on over there? Seems to be a lot of concern from the citizens. So looking forward to that discussion.
Anybody else? Okay. On to new business, there's a special permit application, such as the veterinary office, for section 4.31.23, 110 West Elm Street, map 51, lot 56A. The applicant is Mossflower Veterinary. So just acceptance of public hearing for that number. You guys?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. On to item B, preliminary discussion, new firehouse and zoning regulations.
So this is also just a quick thing to put it on the commission's radar, and Alan, I'm sure you can speak to this too, as the commissioner who's been a part of the firehouse committee.
Can we turn the mic off, please?
Oh, yeah.
No, Carol can do it from upstairs.
I don't, carry out, go up that part. Well, right.
So I'll come stand next to you.
Then I gotta get it back.
Apologies. So this is mostly just to put it on the commission's radar. Once again, as we're looking at a lot of the regulations and updates to both the regs and the map where necessary. We received a letter from some of the firehouse committee that is looking at potentially the historic society's parcel along Main Street for the potential firehouse. It is a very, at this point, just a preliminary thing, but the reason that I have them submit something now and to bring it up for the commission to start thinking about is because it relates to a bigger conversation that has already been had as we're assessing the map and the regs, which is this particular parcel, along with some of our school parcels, is in the PRD zone, which doesn't actually permit the uses that are the primary uses on those parcels. So potentially for this particular parcel, the change to the village mixed use district, which is adjacent, would make more sense both for the existing historic society because it allows for museums and actually allow for potentially a firehouse, which the current regs would not. So it's just something for the commission to be aware of that is kind of might come up later and for us to think about as we're doing the broader reg and map review. And as we look at the PRD zone in particular and areas that are probably unnecessarily constricted by being in the preservation and recreation zone when they are not preservation or recreation uses. And that's it.
Quickly, is there any way to check them up? Is this unmuted? Because some of the people online can't hear us completely.
If you talk down there, I'm gonna go down and see if I can hear and I'll text you.
Yep. Can you hear it now?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry about all this. Okay, so we're on to item C, discussion regarding activities at 225 Kelsey Hill Road. So just real quick, we're gonna do a couple things, looks like Bob's jumping up the hill, just quick and dirty. So we're just gonna go over what has been approved real quick. And then give everybody, give Bob a second to go over some stuff. And if there are questions, we're not really gonna do a question and answer, we'll take your comments. Minutes are quite a few, so that's the best approach at this moment.
Yeah.
If you give Zoe a minute to get upstairs, we can do all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, no.
Forgot that we weren't needed. I was directing.
Get everything set it up. Okay, well, you're up for 245.
Great. Okay.
You can just sit down here. Unless you want to switch me.
I can if you want.
Yeah,
without
I'll
book.
make it easier for you. I'll split it back and forth.
I think I have enough juice in
So there are things available online and the commission does have printouts.
Thank you.
If you have trouble finding anything online, you can email me and I can just send you things directly as well. So the planning and zoning office, myself, approved a commercial agriculture permit, which included a barn. The full, or the farming building. The full permitting process went through health, zoning, wetlands, and then building. I know that there's a lot of concerns, especially with the blasting, which got permitted through the fire marshal, because that is that permitting process. And yeah, I don't know what to say besides that as the baseline. I think we know there's a lot of people here who want to express their concerns. So I'm gonna let Tony decide on how to organize it.
Oh, you missed that whole part.
I did, sorry, I was talking to
Yeah.
somebody to get them up here. My apologies if I'm being repetitive.
No, you're good. So basically, we're just gonna, let, Bob's got a presentation, he's gonna get up and say a few words. Then we'll give everybody like 2 minutes, we'll take down their concerns and move forward.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll be taking notes
Okay.
as well,
I'm
actively.
gonna bring you the microphone. Try to save myself at the end of the table.
Good evening, Bob Dillon,
Yeah, flag, microphone, you start.
okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
I'm Bob Dunham, a professional engineer and licensed landscaper. And on behalf of Mapusha Real Estate Investors Incorporated, or LLC, I should say, we prepared a site plan of their 25.7 acre parcel for a commercial agricultural facility. And the site work is essentially completed enough to install the barn. The barn barn is currently under construction. It's framed in. It's being enclosed in. The pad was developed by blasting, which you're all aware of. That material was removed from the blasted area, processed through equipment, and stockpiled in the front of the property. The blasting was completed a few weeks ago. The majority of the site work for the farm building has been completed, and as they finish the structure, they'll do the final grading around the roadway and the facility, and then topsoil. It's all going on. The work has been accomplished in accordance with the permits granted by the town and in accordance with our site plan. What I'll do is I'll take notes on your comments and then I'll respond appropriately and appropriate time. Okay.
Okay. Now, back down. Okay, so just gonna real quick, if anybody from the commission had questions, if not, I'm gonna turn it over to the audience. If you had questions, raise your hand. I'll bring the microphone to you. Just please state your name for the record.
We'll be able to ask additional questions after the audience.
Yeah. Okay. Don't do a lot of running around.
Good evening, commissioners and public. My name is Richard Hosley. I'm with Connecticut Explosives Company. I'm the drilling and blasting contractor that was hired by Mapusha Development LLC. And I just wanted to provide a little information about the blasting operations on site and further support Mr. Dell with any questions you folks might have. A little background on the site. Prior to blasting, we applied for what's called a blasting permit, and that goes through the local fire marshal's office. It also goes through the state of Connecticut Department of Public Safety and the federal Department of ATF, Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives. In that process, we submit our credentials for transportation use and storage of explosives, and an insurance certificate with the Fire Marshal's Office, the state of Connecticut, and the federal government. Once that process is established, we sent out notification forms to local neighbors surrounding the property, and I have a list of neighbors that we submitted that to. And in addition to that, we hired an independent company that specializes in sound retention monitoring and seismic monitoring. That company's out of Cheshire, Connecticut. They're called Geosonics, and they're probably a 30-year-old company. Connecticut Explosives Company is 103 years old, and we've gone the third generation in the explosive blasting business. During the process of blasting, we set up remote seismographs around the property. Remote seismographs are powered by solar panels and documented any vibration activities that took place on site, whether it was from blasting or traffic or anything of that nature. Interesting to note, the blasting started on February 31st. That was the first day. March 31st, I'm sorry, that's 3/31. And blasting operations lasted for 15 days. On and off, intermittent between weather and weekends. And the final blast occurred on April 28th. So for those of you who might be confused about when blasting operations took place, it was for 15 days. During those 15 days, remote seismographs emailed the local fire marshal's office and the State Department of Public Safety the ground vibration regulations and measurements. And we're pleased to say that the greatest vibration measurement was on April 9th. And at that point, we were at 25.5% of the legal limit. In other words, we had another 78% amount of vibration that could be generated before we established a legal limit to cause damage. And again, this is on file with the local fire marshal's office. I do want to note that all these records are again with the state fire marshal's office and the state fire marshal's office and local fire marshal's office. During our operation of 15 days, we established a call list where we called the neighbors that wanted to be informed of the blasting operations. The neighbors, for those that read our notification forms and contacted us either by phone or by email. During that time period, we've got a spreadsheet of who we spoke to, and during that time period, we did not have any complaints of ground vibration or noise from the blasting. We did, however, have one visit by a neighbor on Woodland Road who didn't know what was happening. He came up on the site, asked us if he could be added to the call list. That call list is who we call before we blast, before we set off the blast. Right before we blast, we set off warning lists to announce that blasting is going to occur. We establish a secure perimeter around the site, and off we go. So I just wanted to establish that information and help the commission with any questions they might have. Thank you, Richard Mossflower.
What was the perimeter you notified for the neighbor? What was the perimeter distance that you notified the neighbors?
600 feet.
Good, keep your, you don't keep your hands up on anybody else.
Yeah.
Please,
Yeah, my name is Gene O'Brien, and I live on 11 Little Seabrook Road. My question to the owners of the property is, we really don't understand what they're gonna.
I'm listening to this.
Okay. My question is, what are the owners going to do on that property? As far as we know, it's only for residential use, not really for any kind of commercial business. Although I'm hearing that agricultural operations are approved under that zone. But could you be more specific about what exactly is going to be taking place there and how that meets the zoning regulations?
You can't put it on Zoom.
It is on Zoom.
Don't have pictures.
I don't need to say anything. You only see the people, you don't hear. You got to hear the. What?
Is it good?
Yeah. I'm interested.
I'm gonna shut the door over there. I'm gonna go back in the kitchen.
Okay.
Hi, Vicky Galamatakis, Warsaw Street. I have questions as to what the logging operation will be and whether there's going to be any burning going on up there. Are they bringing logs in from other places? And also a question about that huge wall that was left after excavating for the building. What's going to happen with that huge wall? Is that also going to be blasted?
Hello, I'm Bob. I live on Kelsey Hill Road. And I have two concerns. Number one, thinking about wood processing. Right, if kill drying is being processed at the site, and if so, is there any VOC or volatile oxidative chemicals that are being expelled while the wood is being stored? All right, at this site on Kelsey Hill Road, this situation would impact local students in the high school and local residents in the area. And number two, is there any wastewater that would be expelled into the groundwater that would leach into local wells below the level from their sites? And I thank you for your concern.
Hi, Mike Thornton, to the gentleman who gave a presentation on the blasting, thank you. Thank you for adhering to the safety restrictions. So I guess this is a question to the board and the fire marshal who approved the permit. Did they submit the actual amount of blasting material that was to be taken away to create the operation as it stands? Because you don't know how much was proposed to take away, and if it was exceeded. Safety permits were in place, that's fine, but I think that's a question that I have.
It's just about
There wasn't no how much blasting was cleared before this.
Or to 245.
Okay, I'm Rich Columbus, I'm in Wellesley Brook Road, and there's a lot of things that don't add up here. And the first concern I have is the high school. How many people here have had problems with high schoolers coming out of the driveway? We're trophies. And
Hello?
I guess it's almost 50%. Now, the problem is, you have a hidden drive there for the new construction. You don't have any reaction time for that. I actually created this for you from AI, which I will submit into the record. Because I can have one for everyone if you want it. Okay, and okay, I'm tiny.
It's all right, yeah.
Okay, but this is all important. Now you gotta also watch out for the fact that you have new student drivers. Those new student drivers don't have the reaction time of seasoned drivers. You also have the fact that commercial trucks, especially big ones, they're gonna, looks like you have a big barn, you're gonna have big trucks. They do have blind spots. Now you're gonna have, also you're gonna have the buses coming out. You're gonna have buses and blind spots and blind spots, and the buses and the buses. And the fact that the kids, there are a lot of there. Many of the times when I'm coming out there at 2:30, I have to wait a few minutes. Never go out there just to see if they know I'm there before. I'd rather stop and have one plow into me. Okay. Go on to something else.
Between the school buses.
If anybody knows about Kelsey Hill Road, when it rains, sometimes that becomes a river. Now, everything has been stripped down to the flood, whatever that is down there. You're gonna have a lot of outflow going right onto the street. Now, as far as I'm concerned, only farming you've done is rocks. Got quite a few of them. It's good that you're getting rid of them. But why is now I got another paper here for you, which talks about the average size barn of this type of operation. It's about 1,200 square feet. It's obvious that he's got to be using this for something else. The trees themselves aren't really marketable. They're too small. So I don't understand what's going on with that, but I think that it may be something that you should look into to find out what people are using for these specific things as opposed to taking someone's word for it. Now I'm going to give you something on that and also something on outflow and what other towns will consider residential, what's acceptable for residential. I'm not going to have to go through it because I don't have enough minutes.
Sorry.
But all this is all for you. And I can have copies for everybody if you want them. And I have to say, all I can say is, if someone dies there, all the change in regulations is not going to bring that person back. When I discussed this with Central Regional, they didn't have any clue what was going on. But when I talked to them, why weren't they involved just with the high school right next to it? I think that's a big, an obligation of your responsibility to talk to them. I'm sorry, but it should have been done. So I think that's the main thing, you know, you think about the children also. Okay, one more second. The cross-country team runs up that hill. Now you're gonna have increased traffic. It's already dangerous with what's there, having the big trucks and other equipment there. You're making a dangerous situation worse. There's no way to fix this unless you move the whole property someplace else.
Thank you. Anybody else? Chair.
My name is Demetrius. I was looking for work as well, and I have a question regarding process. How did this get approved? What is the process for approving something that's outside of the normal zoning process? Please explain that. Us novices don't have to.
He's going into the mind.
Just have to approve it. So I'm gonna go through everybody's questions and just go around.
And along with Richard, regards to the amount of traffic that's in that area, there's several areas that are impacted by this. And this is today, the first day I've heard of this, which is a little surprising in terms of what is the correspondence that you use for to determine an exception such as this? Is that something you can?
So we'll get to all your questions at the end.
Right.
Jerry, you got your hand up?
Hello, Jerry Roberts, 35 Mayor Bank, Deep River citizen. I think that a big problem that we have is rumor mill. I think people don't really know what's going on. I certainly don't know. There's rumors of some kind of a forestry industry going on there, a Christmas tree farm going in there. If it's forestry, are they bringing trees into process? Are they cutting down trees to process? Is it going to be a Christmas tree farm? And then I'm hearing about holiday rentals or Airbnb dwellings or something. And I think what people are wondering is, how does this fit into our zoning regulations? And was there an environmental impact study done before this took place?
Catherine Russell, Elm Street, following up on what Jerry just said, there has been a lack of cohesive information on what's happened. The biggest thing we've heard is it's going to be a Christmas tree farm. It feels like this is a Trojan horse. Looks like Christmas tree farm, but it's going to open up into a large wood processing business of some sort that doesn't really fit in with that area. And that is the concern I personally have and have heard from many citizens.
I live on Mossflower Street. I'm only 3/4 mile from this home. I have ridden my horse, which is still alive back to there. It's all young trees, a whole lot of swamp, and I'm afraid of the environmental impact this is going to have. Plus, we live on a shelf back there, so we all are on well water. And so is this going to destroy our well water and contaminate our well water? That really concerns me.
Jenny, very well, I'm just adding to the things on the zone. In the article in the newspaper, it said they're putting in a cafe. So that certainly doesn't feel like something that it's zoned for.
Yep.
George Abbott on the property of Joey adjacent to that. My biggest concern is what were they actually permitted for in the very beginning when they were permitted? Nobody said exactly what they were permitted for, and I would like to know that. Thank you.
Winston Scott. Paul's Landing, Deep River. I'm a lifelong farmer. I'm in favor of anybody farming. A Christmas tree farm, that's fine. All these accessory uses that
clear, that has to be, that's, probably not permitted in the zone at present. Material there has been processed, what's been processed for, just to be removed from another property, was it to be processed to fall away. I'm just concerned about the reality of what's going on. As far as Christmas Tree Farm, it's not, it doesn't even need a permit. No farms need a permit in the state of Connecticut, there's a right to farm law. I am, concerned about some of what's been in the newspaper, but it says reuse of overnight stays and things like this. Because I don't know if that's permitted in the zoning as is. But as far as Christmas Tree Farm, that's something, you know, that's 8 to 10 years out because it takes that long to grow a marketable tree. But as far as if it's for farm use, I have no problem with that part.
I just have a quick question, just because it's permitted, is it right?
Carol Gardner, West Street. I have a question. If this starts to morph into a firewood processing site, which it seems like that's the intention. Is that another permitting process? And will we have a chance to comment on that? They've already said that they have got a grant from Connecticut Heat for an electric firewood processor that will be solar operated. But if they're gonna use something like that, what happens to particulate that's created from something like that? Where is that going? It's going right up to the high school, where kids are outside playing soccer or whatever. That has to be controlled. Also, the traffic, the amount of trucks going up and down, large trucks, they start at 7 a.m., they go up Kelsey Hill, they're filled with whatever's been blasted out, or whatever stone or whatever they're collecting up there, and then they come down 25 minutes later. This goes on every day. There was a letter that I saw on the website from Zoe that was to cease and desist. Monday morning, it's still going on. It's still going on this morning. Is anyone checking on this stuff?
Hi, I'm Bob. I live in Kelsey Hill Road. And I also talked recently about volatile acidity, you know, the particulate matter that may be produced by this site, but that can only be cited by the state of Connecticut. And the state of Connecticut has to be involved with what is involved with what they're producing as, you know, for the what's the word I'm looking for the oversight of what is being expelled from the site, because you have high school, you have football, you have soccer, and you have kids out there, you have people walking around out there, etc. And also what she had brought up recently about the trucks, 7 o'clock a.m. and they're driving down the road with full loads, and they use their Jake brakes. I don't know what people know what Jake brake is, but if you heard a truck going down the hill, yeah, and that's disturbing at 7:30 in the morning, and then it goes up, it comes down, does the same thing, goes up, goes down, does the same thing, and so what are they traveling, and how does that react into the road that they're traveling on? Because that road is not made for that kind of heavy duty traffic. So us as taxpayers, are we paying to repair this road after all this traffic that is going up and down and up and down? So that's one of my concerns, and one of many of my concerns. So we're gonna have to pay extra taxes on fixing the road. So that's another thing we should be looking at. Thank you.
Eileen Costa, Whittlesley Brook Road, couple things. Has a traffic study been done? That's huge with the high school. Another thing is, how are we gonna enforce these zoning regulations? Because as we know, up to date, they don't follow the rules. All right, someone mentioned taking loads of stuff out of there. I think that wasn't permitted from the get-go, okay? But that rule has been broken. All right, removing items, excavating, that was stopped per a letter. I think last week or the week before, and today they were excavating. Why? You were, people saw you. And the other question, for the gentleman who blasted, who was your insurance company? Because we have people with issues.
That's fine.
Mike doing, I guess this all starts with Zoe, when the permit was brought into the office under the guise of agricultural activity. Now, that's a pretty broad spectrum, so if somebody can come in with anything, is that correct? Or are there fine lines, or the guardrails, or the parameters of what falls under the use under agricultural? So that's a question, I mean, because everything is being blown up from that point. If we had guidelines and an ordinance in the town, what is considered agricultural usage? I think we might not be at this point at this day.
Yeah.
Let me just again, how, with regards to the size of the building, this is 12 times. This is 12 times the average that one needs to perform the tasks that are identified in the zoning permit. Why would the town permit 12 times the size of a building? There's more construction storage space than our entire town uses for this one site. Does that make any sense? What's the question?
I think what you answer.
Hi, Anna Marie Gilbert, our property abuts this property. So our concerns are the water runoff, the displacement of water into our properties. Warsaw already has issues. We want to make sure like those don't get worse. If there's going to be mulch piles on the property, how are those going to be maintained so there's no fires that are going to get started and that our properties have to be concerned during drought season? And the runoff, if there's mulch that can cause issues with groundwater getting into our wells and contaminating them. So I would like to have those issues addressed.
Yes.
Sure.
Yep.
Lenore, this, if it's not well, the mulch piles aren't well maintained now, it's gonna increase mosquitoes and ticks.
Neil, 2 Falls Landing Road. My concern is trucking on that road. It's a dangerous road to be with. And that's phase 1. And it's mostly building. What else is happening on that? Phase 2.
Carolyn Cronkite, Whittlesley Brook Road. I think the issue that we're hearing in many different ways from everyone here tonight is the lack of communication by the people who are representing us here in the town as to what was planned, what was done, what is being done in terms of oversight. And my question is, going forward, what do we need to do as citizens to make sure that if there's going to be any further development of this property, we're properly notified, we have an opportunity to come to a public hearing. If we need to get counsel, we are able to get counsel so that these questions, concerns, which are all valid from everyone that you're hearing from tonight, can be properly addressed, because no one seems to have thought of that before we got to this point.
Okay, Nancy Pelham High Street, my husband and I had driven by Kelsey Hill. Okay, is this better? Nancy Pelham High Street. The size of that building is enormous, as somebody mentioned earlier. Weren't plans submitted? And if not, what can we do to penalize? Well, it's supposed to be running for a farm, but that's very questionable, I understand as well. To penalize the owners who have built this, and can we force them to tear it down? So that it fits, as opposed to, oh, you'll pay a fine. Then there's really no punishment unless the fine is very large to really hurt. Can we require them to tear the building down and put it back up according to the plans that were submitted and approved by the buildings department? Or assuming that plans were submitted to the buildings department.
Jerry. I guess my comment, and listen to everybody, I think what people want to know is that you folks are all volunteers, a lot of us volunteer on other commissions. Is the zoning commission looking after us, looking after the community? What is going to happen there? Because no one knows what's going to happen there. It's an industrial site. What's it for?
Quick question. Somebody back from that. Somebody.
My name is Robert Rain, Westbrook Road, Winter area. I am personally not affected by this going on. However, my problem is totally unrelated to this process, is law enforcement in this town regarding speed. It doesn't happen. We've grown from a resident trooper and 4 or 5 constables to 1 resident trooper who's on call throughout the state. And he's able to leave this town that we pay for anytime that he is here on the payroll. Also, we have 1 full-time constable and I think 1 part-time constable. Their hands are tied as far as speed enforcement. Today, I was run off the road by a large truck today on Kelsey Hill Road.
I'm Kaylee, I live on Whittlesey Road. I also posed the question of the traffic study and whether a traffic study has been done in regards to the high schoolers that live there. But also I posed something back to our selectmen, is there's clearly a gap for recourse to these actions that he commits. So whether that, or anybody on the property trucking things back and forth, and after there's a cease and desist, there's no fines in our town rules and our policies here. There's a gap in policy that there needs to be some recourse for this action. There needs to be fines. There needs to be a way that we can legally hold anybody accountable to, if they are continue to go up and down the street, continue to do work when there's a cease and desist. So thank you.
Once again, I'm Bob from Kelsey Hill Road. Is there any way that the council could limit the amount of heavy truck traffic that is going on besides school bus, which we live on the road where the high school is? But my concern is that there's gonna be conflict between heavy truck traffic and school buses because it's almost like a 1.5 lane road. And I think there's gonna be concerns about how the school buses interact with the heavy truck traffic. And once again, the heavy truck traffic seems to be increasing because of this new project.
This is something, you know that, I haven't looked at any of your minutes or what you've done. As far as your committee and other committees that has passed through, but I know, I worked on the Wetlands Commission for like 7 years, 7 years, so long time. And I know that occasionally, if it's something that doesn't affect anybody, sometimes, you just turn over and say, well, I'll let it go through because it's not affecting anybody. But this does affect people. You're seeing a lot of concerns townspeople here. Now, we have with this type of situation. What does if this create precedent so that anybody would have the right that's in this room do likewise? You know, maybe I want to have a super barn in my backyard. No, or everybody here wants to have a super barn in their backyard. It's if you say yes to one person, you have to say yes to everybody. You just can't pick and choose, especially if it's something that's going to affect everybody. So, I know you guys are doing the best job you can, and you're hit with a lot of stuff. You want to do good for everybody, but you have to think. When it comes to a choice of uncertainty, what are we going to do? What are we going to decide is going to affect in the positive way the most people? If it turns out that the people, not the applicant, but the people around are all upset, then maybe that should be taken into consideration of passing the application through. You got to have compassion and understand that people in Kelsey Hill, Whittlesey Brook Road, and whatever, we live here. We have to go back home to these places, and some of our children have to duel the trucks coming out of that hidden driveway. So you got to really think hard about this. If there's any more permits to do, in any way you can, maybe there's some things that you can't do because there's some things you can do to maybe to make things a little bit better than what's already been done. This is a mess. I'm sorry, it is a mess. And the best you can do is clean it up to the best of your ability. And that's all I have to say. And I wish you the best of luck with this.
I just would like to publicly state, Catherine Russell, Elm Street, that the individuals, the business, the entity putting this into effect on that property has won a large contract with our town to do repair work on Flatwood Park. And I would certainly hope everybody doesn't get the opportunity to win a bid like that. And I personally am disappointed with the lack of transparency and communication. And maybe there's an answer to all of this, and we hope there is. But it does not feel respectful to the town of Deep River to be conducting an undertaking like this in this manner when you're doing business with the town. Thank you.
Cindy Torres at the Cedar Lake Road, and with the also full disclosure, selectman here in town and director of emergency management. I want to applaud everybody for bringing to light many of the questions. They're some of the same questions that I had that I'm working to get answers to include line of sight with regards to driveway. I'm very concerned. Again, full disclosure, a daughter going into Valley Regional. I'm concerned about, I drove into the driveway and drove back out and the clearance just doesn't seem right. I mean, I've been a police officer for 30 years. Also, in full disclosure. And from the ethics standpoint, I would like to, the question I have remaining after all of this is for some clarity with regard to the relationship with
of one of our selectmen with the person who has this property and 2 contracts. In this.
Bob, one more question. How do we fix this? We all have to ask ourselves, among you and us, how do we fix this? It's hard to make everybody happy all at the same time. We know that, but the thing of it is we're looking for the safety of everyone involved. Thank you.
Tony, I've had my hand up for a while.
And if there are conflicts of interest in the zoning permitting, how do we as people get to speak against that? If there's a conflict of interest, how do we get to oversee that? And is there a repeal process if there is anyone that is clearly shown a conflict of interest? And I think that we should also note,
Just a quick note, anybody that is involved in approving or not approving, just think about whether you would want to live next to this.
Yeah.
So with regards to the process of proving this, was there due diligence done in advance of the approval? Did they look for conflicts? Was any of that done? Did that? Was there a background check with regards to the LLC that's requesting the permit? Have they been in trouble with other towns or other areas? Hello, is anybody there? Then was there a cost benefit analysis done on behalf of the town? Like, what does this cost the town, and what's the benefit to the town? Has anyone looked at that as part of the decision-making process? And as far as I can tell, a building that's 12 times the average, and it's being installed in a little country bumpkin town, where a bunch of volunteers are making decisions on behalf of many, many citizens. It doesn't smell good, especially with conflict of interest with contractors. You know, it looks like something like you'd step on. It smells like something you step on. I don't have to pick it up and eat it to know what it is. This is really quite disgusting.
Point out that this did not go through this commission.
Alright, any more questions? If not, I'm gonna clear back with you for comments, address some of this stuff. Oh, no. What over there, Art? Did you see?
Ron Larson, 537 Wentworth Road. I farm along with Winston. I'm not against farming whatsoever. Christian, I have no problem with Christian tree farming. As far as farming issues go, that's on the building. If you really take a close look at that building, it looks like it can be very easily divided into sections. There's access doors on the back. So if that building is going to be used for his operation only versus renting out, that question asked. My other question is, prior to the road repair on Kelsey Hill, there was a sign on no through trucks. That was taken down to the repair of the road. I believe that sign has not been put up. I would like you folks to look into that also. Thank you.
Hi there, I'm Rory Jacobson, Kelsey Hill Road. I just agree with all the comments. You've, seen the truck traffic go in and bring material back up to the site day in and day out. I'm concerned with the impacts to people at the high school. I'm concerned with what Ron said, the potential for renting it out to other commercial entities. But I'm also concerned with the environmental factors up there. The Connecticut Department of Environmental Energy and Environmental Protection puts out every 6 months what's called a natural diversity database. of areas where they have found, endangered or threatened species. And this site, if you can go on, it's all public knowledge. You can pull up the parcel data, you can pull up the deep NDB and pull it right up. There is an NDB on the property. It's also in the town's POCD, the newest POCD. There's an ND map. It's right there. So I encourage people to look at that. And so those are the concerns that I have.
Down below.
Over here, they're all dried up. My gardens are all dried
Well,
up.
let's go do it. I'll go now. Turn this off. Yeah.
Down there, you just turn over that soil and you can see the flowers and not.
All right, where do you want to water?
Hi, Tony. This is Fred Jordan from West Elm Street in Deep River. Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you. Sorry.
Okay. I don't have a dog in the fight because I don't live on Kelsey Hill Road, but I have a dog in the fight because I'm a member of the community. And I've watched over the years many times where people had relatively benign things that were made to jump through hoops to please the zoning commission. Zoning commission's job in our town is to ensure the health, safety, and property values of its community. And I'm seeing where apparently with no traffic studies for a project of this size, where that's been accomplished. And I think that that's doing a disservice to the neighbors in that area. Um, I mean, from simple things like allowing the Deep River Historical Society to administer uh, flea markets on their own property, and the town shot them down because that would affect all the other areas in that zone. And yet here we have a massive project that has been taken on a very small backwoods road right next to a school. I haven't seen anything in terms of drainage or traffic safety or anything else. The neighbors on Kelsey Hill deserve better, and I think that the zoning commission has dropped the ball on this. And I think that they need to do what they can to correct this, because I think that they have a good grounds to go further with their complaints. And I don't think the town really needs another lawsuit, but how in the heck did this happen where all of a sudden we have this massive, really semi-industrial project taking place on Kelsey Hill? It makes no sense to me. On a very small road, doesn't really have the capability of handling heavy truck traffic. And it's obvious in my mind that this isn't about a Christmas tree farm. This is a cover for something much larger. And I question how this is going to be regulated when we're not even regulating things that we have the ability to regulate. For example, the coffee shop next door to me that operates under the guise of a farm. So that's all I got to say about that. You guys can take it from there, but I think you're dropping the ball. And I think that the residents on Kelsey Hill Road in that area deserve better. Thank you.
we came
Oh.
up,
Can you hear me now?
It's basically,
it's not
we gotta check it, Fred.
legible. Yeah, but it's still.
Fred, can you give like a thumbs up or something? If you can hear me?
That keeps making up now. It's pretty cool, so.
Hey Fred, I knew that was gonna happen. How about that, Fred? That's gonna keep doing.
Wait, it's because I had turned on my volume.
About that, Fred, can you hear them? Can you hear me now?
Tony, can we let Zoe respond, Bob respond, and then we'll come back with additional questions?
Okay, I just want to make sure everybody online could hear.
Yes, we can
That's
hear
what
you.
I'm trying, yeah,
Yes, we can hear you now.
he's got it. Oh, he's got it. So go ahead.
So we do have a definition of commercial agriculture, but it is limited in terms of. We could have one. But there is commercial agriculture, that is what I use as the baseline for review. There is a broader narrative that was submitted, not all of that is currently permitted. Some of it would not be permitted in the zone and some of it would require a special permit, including something like a cafe or anything related to agricultural agritourism activities. That would be a special permit, just like the one that we had for the farm on Deep River. When it was brought to our attention, to the attention of my office, that there was concern because there was presented that there would be blasting in order to grade the land for the barn for the commercial agricultural permit, the commercial agricultural purpose, which is permitted. We did follow up in June and then again in July, and have been in communication to monitor it the best that we can. As somebody pointed out, I don't have citations, so I try to make sure that I both take in concerns from community members who have reached out to me, as well as communicate with the property owner and the commission. I do want to just state, I understand that there's a conflict of interest concern. For me personally, who reviewed the zoning permit, I serve at the behest of the Planning and Zoning Commission, not the Selectman's office. At the end of the day, I'm here to listen to what they have to tell me, and that's why I've been in communication with the chair and vice chair since this first came onto my radar as a concern, and why we're bringing it to the full commission tonight to discuss further, because that is the body that I serve in terms of my regulatory commitments and my permitting oversight.
Remember? I'm gonna turn to Bob. Your question.
Want to touch on the fact that you sent the letter out for this? Can't hear you.
Yeah.
You can talk. You want to just tell us?
I believe that what Zoe needed to tell me was that on July 30th, she sent a very detailed 7-page letter to the applicant asking them to stop certain activities beyond what was permitted to begin with. That included no further blasting or excavation. That included no materials being removed from the site. And we also asked for a new grading site plan and a narrative to go with it so that we could send it to our engineer for comments. And we had not received that as of tonight. So it did not go to our engineer. We had no comments come in. We will send it to our engineer. And she listed activities that were not permitted, such as bringing trees, logs, and wood materials from off-site locations to the barn, or activities not explicitly permitted as related to the approved flower and Christmas tree farm agricultural use. So Zoe did ask them to keep
And I also want to say that Zoe works 6 to 7 hours a week because that's all we are given funds to pay her. As a former CEO, I can tell you that 6 hours a week doesn't allow you to get into the office, get your emails, get your phone calls, deal with whoever might be coming in that day to talk to you. She doesn't have enough time to do everything. She works 7 hours a week as a CEO, other than some funding that we have now to rewrite our regulations, which we are working on every single month.
I do. Okay, can you all hear me without the microphone?
Yes.
All right, I do have a couple of questions, mostly directed to the, record, civil engineer. I know that in the materials that have been submitted, a letter that says that the excavation was done, appropriate to the slope of work, not over. And yet, there's commentary about, the wall, which appears to be, very significant over excavation based on what I see in the application in terms of concrete. So, should you did respond that the excavation and removal appear appropriate in preparation. So, like to get some explanation of why, there's very significant regrading necessary after preparation of the building. So, the other question I would add that again, the civil plan, what's submitted is need to be in compliance with zoning regulation. And yet the project has been phased. And phase one work enables the construction of the building and the grinding and firewood function. But none of the primary requirements that fall below phase two portion of the work. So in order to find the zoning and to just complete phase one, how do you plan that to make agricultural use? If only the secondary uses are accommodated at the phase one. And the last comment I would make is, and I think it's clarified in the process that, you know, as a farm property, I don't think anybody really has a problem with farm. I think the issue that we face is it a farm operation? And again, that goes to my question of going to keep phase one. There's really no primary agriculture. Only the assessment. So if we were to approve this as a agricultural, we need to be approved the entire site. If we approve the entire site, I'm not sure that wetland evaluate public area when agricultural actually. So to kind of lock off that portion of the wetland. Just to do the phase one work and the shortcut of the application. So I ask those of you that phasing, use, definitely use. And I think we clarify about the questions that they actually use it for situation.
Tony, may I ask one more question?
Hi, I'm Becky, Becky Gets the Pizza, and my husband and I are the people creating the business. A couple of things I'm not going to discuss this, a lot of concerns were aired, and I just want to know, I'm hearing them, and I am trying to be as transparent as possible, and I'm always available for conversation. Glad to walk through the site, if it's prearranged and whatnot. I do want to say, the easiest thing to clarify first is, I'm a certified organic farm, and I'm on the board of directors for the Middlesex Farm Bureau. And so this is something that is near and dear to my heart, and I value, obviously I go through the things of being organic certified, so I value sustainability, I value environmental impact, and I value regenerative agriculture. Those are my primary goals, because we are building a Christmas tree farm. A lot of these things have to do with midstream of construction. And I think that with some patience, it'll speak for itself. In the direct concerns about the future air communities and all that portion of what's on file that the newspaper pulled out of the file, that was written post-COVID during the phase of looking at this property and how beautiful it is. If you could look down the slope, there's a beautiful fern gully, and that was sort of a dream that I saw for a use of the property to develop it into a flower farm, and like I said, post-COVID, so those ideas were all fresh in my head. First of all, it requires special permit. I was not aware when I wrote that about Rivers agricultural agritourism regulations. I had no clue when I wrote that. Otherwise, I would not have fixed that, because it does require a special permit. And I learned that from the office. Zoe was actually not in the office at the time that I submitted that early draft. Yeah, so it was her predecessor who had spoken about that, informed me that would require special permitting, as would. So that I learned all that years ago, and I will apologize for confusion from the newspaper article that dug up that old submission. And I can assure the neighbors that I've actually reached out to some people directly, given my cell phone number, and just clearing the air on that right off the rip. As far as phase one, we do have about 3,000 Christmas tree seedlings in 1 gallon pots at my nursery that will be planted as soon as the site is prepared. The site preparation will have, the building will finish, and the rest of the site will be prepared for the initial piece, right here to receive Christmas trees. And the reason why I understand at the stage, my recollection from the last time we were in front of the zoning office, the main reason we want to phase is so that we could then look at how we are going to manage the wetlands and all the rest as we extinct. So the idea of phasing is really to put some guardrails in place to get this first piece done, and then we can collaboratively as a team figure out how to best use the rest of the property. And like I want everybody to know I'm transparent, I'm accessible, and I'm happy to clarify for one-on-one. I think there's a lot that was said tonight that I don't want to do this justice, but I am listening. And Bob, I'd like you to address the engineering things regarding.
Yeah, figure that.
Tony, I have one more question. I may.
And I'm the engineer that planned, presented it to the board, and phase one is the phase of construction that we're in. The Christmas tree farm, it's always been part of it. That was the basis of the application, and it's indicated the limits of that are shown on the plan. that we presented to, the board, that was approved by the board. And, it's, goes on either side, it does go, within 100 feet of the, wetlands. We elected at this time to stay out of the regulated area for the construction of phase, one. We have, our sedimentation erosion control and I don't know if your enforcement officer is here, but he has been checking on it, we communicate regularly on it. And I'd like to also say that Zoe has been communicating well with me anyway, by email, and I appreciate the response. And we went through the regulatory process for what you see on the plan for the size of the building that was submitted. It was shown. We have building plans that were submitted with the application. We went to NDEP with our environmental submittal, which is a requirement. We got a response from the state that this activity is fine as far as the endangered plants or animals that are on the property. And we follow our regulatory process. We're not hiding anything. We're open. I'm not going to respond to all the comments that were made. I think all I can talk to is the engineering, what we're doing. I understand the sight lines on Kelsey Hill Road. I've been involved as engineer for, I hate to say it, but I've been doing it a long time. I've been designing roadways. I know what sight lines are required. I know that at our driveway as it exists now, we do have to grade to establish the sight lines, and that work is in progress. The site is being developed and graded to match the plan. We talk about a rock wall. That's how things get blasted. We don't ask the blaster to blast a slope at a 2-to-1 slope. It gets blasted vertically, and then we go back in and grade the slope off as I show it on that plane. It will be established, it will be topsoil, it will be graded. I see a lot of edge, but that's the process that we go through. I've been doing this work for forever, and there's nothing unusual at this site. The building was we didn't have to we didn't hide anything going through the process. We presented everything that's shown on the plan, and our application materials support what we propose in conformance with the regulations. And we've been operating, I think, in conformance with the permit. And with that, I'll stop.
Hi, I'm Scott Lucia. I've been living in town here for 35 years, and I wanted to have a Christmas tree farm, but the property came up from fall and to this deep, and told me what my idea was, went through the process, to go through the building process, wetlands, building and everything for the last 2 years. So we're not trying to hide anything. And I want to talk about being able to work in the town. Doing work in the town for 25 years. Maybe around. And all the work I did was put up a bit. I'm a little contractor for that work. And the more of us doing that cost, take that down. So if anybody's got any questions, like you, the first selectman there.
So, back to the question. Right, this is, I mean, we're not done with the thing yet,
not a public hearing. We have quite a comment. So, the commission.
Tony, I've got one more question. If I may. How many hours a week does Zoe have for the town of Deep River?
Oh, you missed that. That was already brought up at the total 6, 7.
6.
7 hours.
So for example, we have a farm next door to me that's operating under a special permit. How many times has she inspected that? To see that they're following their,
But that's a different.
well, no, I'm using that as an example of how that facility on Kelsey Hill Road will be monitored.
So, anyway, I did also want to add that, quite a lot of it comes up with monetary stuff. The planning and zoning commission will not. Can't hear you. So, I heard you. So we can't, the planning and zoning commission cannot address, monetary values for any property. It's not part of what we do. We do health and safety and everything. So anything else that comes up, with an economic development. But I just want to make sure that's clear too. The other part of this is it was approved under a site plan. Something that's not under the commission. So this is all for the first time. And this is, he said again, so people understand. So this was approved under a site plan. So anybody else who wanted to do this exact same thing, the site plan approved. That's how we got to this point. So a lot of money. So it falls back on the building. So it's not this rule of for the building. Yeah. Stop this rule, right? Let's speak again. We applied to the building department. Now, which was a special permit. It would have been. Correct. It's a lot better than No.
No, stay down the mic, stay down the mic.
So to be clear, this application was turned into the building department. This is the first time that as a committee, we are hearing this and addressing it. Did not come through here, you will not find it in any past minutes. There's never been an application for phase 1, phase 2, phase 5 to go through this floor. So we are kind of looking ahead, okay? So we're looking at our regulations and we're going to discuss what steps could be current and what could be going forward.
Building department.
The building department, it was a building department. That's the protocol. It was a site plan, and based on what was submitted, that is acceptable under our current regulation.
Just really fast. At the time of the original zoning permit, I was in communication with the wetlands enforcement agent and did not sign off on anything until I got the okay from them. Because if something is not within the 100-foot review area, then it doesn't go to the commission. So I did double check to make sure that anything that was getting approved was outside of that review area, or if it wasn't the review area, obviously would go to you guys. So I was in communication and paying attention to it. And that's why the only activity right now, yeah. So that's why the only activity is not. Yeah. Yeah, which is why Bruce is still checking the, yeah.
Or changes, hydrology, things like that. We have to try to keep them touched and see what's going on. So that's our biggest concern.
So it is on the inland wetlands. Yeah, so it is on the inland wetlands commissions and agents radar. And when it came to my attention in June, one of the first things I did was also reach out to the inland wetlands agent to check with him and make sure it was also on his radar, because I knew there was a concern about that review area.
Well, water is tainted on Whittlesey Road or Kelsey Hill Road. What's our option? Do we go to them? Or do we have to have the state involved to find out where this stuff is coming from?
As the Wetlands Commission, we are checking into that right now. So trying to figure it out.
Exactly.
But they're supposed to be answering all those questions.
So that's actually not a planning and zoning question. Meets our standards. Could have been bigger than that.
There's nothing about that in the zone.
You're saying bigger than. Look at it meets the zoning standard. Oh, you think that'd be okay? Where's the zoning? We're back, okay, we're back.
No, it was just. Oh, no, I have. Don't even. On the background, we're gonna take a break. I'm just trying to let everybody, I get it. Let me pause the meeting.